Well, it's me again, and this is my podcast and my world, where I take you along on an adventure where we get to explore everything and anything that goes on in my mind. Oh boy, is it random, is it crazy, it's nuts, it's all over the place. So grab yourself a cup of coffee and let's have a good time. Well, hello once again. I hope everybody is having, so far, a fantastic day. I can tell you that I certainly am. I'm kind of got my feet up, relaxing and enjoying every moment of my freaking day. I wish. So, welcome to my channel. If you're new, welcome. I'm getting a lot of newbies coming around. So, welcome everybody. I hope you like what you hear and what you see on my channel. It is definitely quite a range of different things. So if you don't like one thing, I'm sure there's something in there that you might like. So take a look around. And so welcome to my world and my podcast, yada yada, blah blah blah, whatever. So today is kind of going to be, I don't know, a bunch of little things maybe. I'm not sure exactly the direction that I want to go today and exactly what I want to talk about. But I am definitely thinking of kind of explaining my politics just a little bit. And don't just stop the podcast just here. Just hear me out just for a second. I think we jump too fast into putting ourselves in a category or putting ourselves in a position where we have to title or label who we are, our point of view. I am definitely I don't know how to word this. I am definitely someone who is evolving on a regular basis. My point of view and how I see the world is constantly changing. It is not stagnant in any way, shape, or form. I don't believe that I actually fit into any particular mold or I don't know. I'm not really a Democrat. I'm definitely not a Republican. I wouldn't consider myself a conservative anymore. I don't know if I'm necessarily a libertarian or a moderate or any of that stuff. I'm me. I am me. I am Graham. I am an individual. And I just don't feel as if I fit into any particular category. And I'm starting to get to the point where I don't want to fit into any particular category. I don't want to label myself. I used to label myself a conservative for a long time. And my wife used to joke and say, "Oh, you're not a conservative, you're a Republican." And I kind of got offended by that because I felt as if that's not who I was. I'm not a Republican. In my opinion, a Republican has no backbone. They say something and then they turn around and do something else. But honestly, I mean, if we're really thinking about it, it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on or what party you're on. It doesn't matter. It's not important. Not really. We're all human. We all bleed the same color blood. We all live on the same rock together, and it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As long as we respect each other and as long as we understand that everybody has lived a different life and has a different point of view, then it doesn't matter. It's not important. You know, we're all different and we're all individuals. And why do we have to put ourselves inside these bubbles? Okay, so with that put aside, all right, got that out in the open, that's done. Now, let's talk about something a little different. Let's talk about global warming, okay? This was something that was brought up recently, and I kind of want to discuss this because just from what I have observed in my life, okay, I have been on this planet for 37 years, and at least I would say 32 of them, I kind of remember what winter is like, what summer is like, what spring and fall are like. In my little world, with what I observe over the years, and be straight up and honest with you, I haven't really paid a lot of attention to the weather or to climate, but I have noticed that there is almost always a fluctuation in weather. So first, we'll start with the first one, global warming. It's the first one to come onto the scene with Vice President Al Gore. He did this whole climate change, end of the world fiasco. I don't know if it was to scare us or what it was, but in 10 years, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, these are going to happen. Well, from what I've seen so far, nothing really out of the norm. Hurricanes, we get them all the time, and it's actually been quite a large break in space since we've had them. But here in my backyard, where I live, and I've lived here my whole life, nothing's changed. I haven't gone anywhere else and lived somewhere for 4 or 5 years. I've lived here. Okay, so I've got a pretty good grounds or base. There is fluctuation every single year. I don't know what people expect. Every single winter to be exactly the same, to have the same amount of snowfall every single year, or to have the same amount of rain every single year. That is impractical. That's impossible. It can't work that way. It doesn't work that way, and it shouldn't work that way. Nature isn't like that. She fluctuates. Now, I guess you'd say, well, what about climate change? Well, yeah, climate changes. Are you talking about the fact that it changes from one year to the next and it's a little different than it was before? Or are you thinking that the fluctuation is more than what it was before? Because if that's the case, I have to say no. I have to say, yes, it fluctuates from one year to the next. One year it may be warmer than the next. One year it may have 1.5 feet of snow, the next have 3 feet of snow. One year it may snow, but it's all gone the next day. Last year it snowed probably about 1 foot in total, and we had it from November to February. So does it fluctuate? Climate change? Yeah, it fluctuates. It's supposed to fluctuate. At least that's what I'm observing. I mean, I don't see how... I don't know. Sometimes I really wonder how much people realize how massive our planet really, really is. This planet we live on is really, really, really big. Really big. Yeah, really big. I find it to be actually kind of hilarious, personally, to think that humans have the ability to change the weather. I have to disagree with the narrative that we have the ability to change the weather as much as people think we do. They don't. I think the majority of people, I really do, I really think the majority of people don't have any real clue how big this planet is. You know, you see a small portion of it and you think, oh my gosh, it's a small world. No, no, this is not a small world. This is a very big world. And I really don't think it matters how many humans you think are on this planet. And yeah. For instance, excuse me, I got a really crazy cough today. For instance, there are people who strongly believe that oil spills never happened before man came around. Well, newsflash, oil spills are a natural phenomenon. They happen in nature. You know, you have an earthquake underneath the ocean, for instance, and some oil spills out. The planet is a lot more adaptive than I think most humans give it credit for. It's been around for a lot longer than we have, and it's done just fine. I mean, there's been a lot of craziness that's happened. It's like forest fires. Forest fires were around way before we were ever around, and there's actual evidence that some forest fires have covered massive amounts of land. Like, we're talking like the size of California and Texas combined, if not even bigger. So to think that humans can alter or change something in such a large scale is crazy. Just to think, okay, well, you say, well, what about all of the plastic that's in the ocean? Well, yeah, that's a problem. But the Earth is taking care of it. Plastic, what does it do? It floats, right? Okay, so the plastic is floating. And what does the sun do? The sun deteriorates and breaks down the plastic. Now, it's not going to happen in your or my lifetime. It is actually a very, very slow process. But believe it or not, over time, the Earth will reabsorb that plastic, just like it does with oil spills. You know, oh, we got to run and go clean up the oil spills. Yeah, you could do that. You could. But, you know, it's going to clean up itself. It takes a little bit of time, and yeah, there's a lot of animals that are going to die, but that's kind of what happens. You know, it's quite interesting. We say, oh, well, you know, we're doing this damage. We've been polluting the atmosphere with our gasoline cars for la 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 la. So are we supposed to think that when a forest fire burns that the carbon monoxide is going to weaken the atmosphere? Or are we supposed to, I mean, are we really believing this stuff? Okay, so you have an oil spill. I think if that oil was to catch fire and the carcinogens and the toxins and the gases and all the garbage that goes up in the air, I think the planet is capable of taking care of it. Well, what is gasoline? That's what we're burning in our cars, right? Gasoline. Well, what is it really? Well, it's refined oil. Super refined, actually. They refine it so much that diesel comes first before you get gasoline. So it's basically diesel, but even more refined. Yeah. So, okay. Gasoline burns in your car. Gasoline puts pollution in the air. Yeah. It creates carbon monoxide. Yeah. And has this been happening for, well, thousands and thousands of years? Yeah, it has. So think about this for a minute. If there is a natural oil spill, there's an earthquake, something happens, and oil somehow comes to the surface, and it lays on the surface, and it catches on fire. Now, this is all hypothetical, but if it was to happen, you think that nature would take care of it? I think it would. I think it would wash itself clean, just like it's been doing way before we ever came along. I mean, oil is a natural product that was created by this planet, just like wood and metal and plastic and rubber. We didn't grab it from some foreign planet somewhere else and bring it here. And we're not assuming, are we, that the planet doesn't have the ability to clean up its own stuff? So we molecularly change it a little bit. We turn it from oil into plastic. It's still got the same things in it that made it oil. We just modified it a little bit. So why would we think for any minute that the planet that created that substance to begin with couldn't take care of it? I don't know. I've looked at a lot of evidence that's right in front of my face right now, and I don't see any evidence of global warming, and I don't see any real hard evidence other than what we're told by the so-called professionals that any of this is real. I think, now this is not the Democrat or the Republican or the conservative or whatever else inside, this is just common sense. I think that our government is trying desperately to tell us that this is what's going on so they can eventually charge us for us polluting. I mean, greed, money, hello? That's all our government and all of our governments want, is to make money. They're great big corporations, big businesses. I mean, and if you don't think that the government's a big business, oh my goodness, really. It is definitely a big business. I mean, that's what they do. They make money. It's all about making money. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you come from. It's all about making money. Now, I'll have to tell you sometime about churches, because I honestly feel that a church is a business. It's all about making money. The more congregation you have, the more money you make. I mean, why is it in some churches that they have staff that are making money? Where's the money going? Oh, let's pay tithing. Everybody has to pay 10% of their income because it goes back to the Lord so we can spread the word. To me, that sounds like a business. But what do I know? I'm only an atheist. Actually, that's another topic. I don't even know if I don't believe in God, and I don't believe in a creator. But I am leaning kind of on the Buddhist side of things because, you know, we are really a big part of our mind, and awareness and being in the mind are definitely something interesting. But whatever. That whole topic is for a completely different day because obviously I don't have enough time on this podcast to talk about that, and that's also probably a podcast all unto its own. So I want to thank you everybody for joining me today. I know that some of the things I talk about are quite controversial, but I don't mean it, I promise. So before you label yourself, look at the bigger picture and don't judge a book by its cover, because the story inside may be something different than it appears. All right, y'all have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye for now.
This has been a Graham's World broadcast brought to you directly from Graham's mind. So stay tuned because there's more to come.